And and they were the British feminist scholar who were sort of putting the alarm on regarding that, saying, okay, if we have at the same time, you know, you cannot get into the public sector, which is the good sector for sort of university women in order to make a career. Not great, whatever, but to make a career. We have university taxes going up, family income going down. So that probably will make that many families will not invest their money on their girls to send them to university, because it's very, you know, it's very costly. And because they say, well, and the girls will say, in any case, we will not have good labor opportunities in our future, or at least we will not have if we want to have a family. Obviously, if we want to behave like a man, not taking care of anyone, so yes, probably we could go to private sector anyway. Or if we are really sure that we are going to make a lot of money and we are happy to sort of paying a third person to take care of my kids and everything, so yes. But that could be true for sort of a high upper class or middle upper class families, but not for other families that really needs to make a big economic effort. So it could be possible, it is not yet happening, but it could be possible that in front of this scenario, a lot of women will say, no, I'm not gonna get into the university. And that is 5 minutes, okay? So, and that is so, we will be sort of having some long time effects of this new order, a very bad gender effect, but because probably this a female surpasso in upper education is one of the most important things. Well, I'm gonna talk very about this a macroeconomic policy gender bias. This is something that we really need to change, and this today we have been talking in different moments on macroeconomic policy, and here Diana and Song talk about some bias that are always present in the macroeconomic policy, and they are having a very negative gender effect. And Paula Rodriguez and myself will have included a couple of them more. Anyway, the deflationary bias that is now present in all macroeconomic policy, not only in the European Union, but in everywhere. This deflationary policy are seeking to maintain growth, unemployment below their potential. So when this morning we were discussing about the trade agreement and TIP, and they are saying the justification is that this agreement will create jobs. It is such a lie. It is contradictory with the real macroeconomic policy they are doing, because if you are following these deflationary policies, you are not doing policies for creating employment, but you are doing policies for creating employment below their potential. So it's not true. So it's not true. With this deflationary bias, equal opportunity policy, it could imply to equalize downwards. That will happen again with the TIP. Cuts in social services affecting more women for having less income, with the most important customers, employees, natural substitute of those services, as I said before. Then still is working the male breadwinner bias, male priority over employment. That is something that is obviously is not openly said, but still is a very important part of the macroeconomic policy, especially the fiscal policy, that is still working. Not for instance, not probably here that you have the individualized fiscal system, but is not the case in other countries. Also the privatization and commodification bias, that lies on the idea that the private sector is more efficient than the public one, and again we have seen that on the regarding the trade agreement that is based on this mantra that the private sector is more efficient and it is better and is less fraudulent or less corrupted than the public one. And we were discussing the Volkswagen case just to show that it is not the case. And this idea that is they are repeating all the time that the private sector is more efficient than the public one, it has driven to a massive privatization of services, putting an important pressure on women in order to provide with those services many people cannot access anymore. Then there is the risk bias. It appears with a risk is individualized, as I said before, driving to creditor bias as women enter the financial market mainly as debtors. And well, the subprime mortgage example is very clear, but I want to go a bit further on. And this is also the knowledge bias, which is derived from the economic orthodox analysis, where economics is not only what passed through the market on a monetary expression, not considering all the unpaid work needed in order to maintain those deflationary policy. Anyway, what a feminist analyst should have, we should have into account the value of unpaid work, the inconsistency of the predominance of the male breadwinner family model, and the idea that the family is not an harmonic and altruistic place that is considered within those policies. And especially to realize that gender equality policies do not work within an economic system that generates inequality, and it is based on accumulation and not on the provision of well-being. And I think the Great Recession is a good example of that. I take the example of Spain. We have a very good equality law in 2007. It was very sort of in the forefront of equality laws, and we have Zapatero giving lessons everywhere in the world of how good was this new institutional framework on equality and everything. That was 2007. And the crisis started in 2008. And all these new policies, all this that just disappear from one day to the other. I mean, I was quite sure that this you cannot. These equality policies were something to be developed when there were money, but as soon that there is no money, it's not important. I mean, and it is so because the economic system and the economic policies that really need to support this gender equality policies is an unequal system. It's a system creating any different kind of inequalities. And obviously there is a contradiction. You really cannot develop a real feminist policy within this neoliberal capitalist system. That's my idea. Anyway, well, I will just go to the alternatives, and I finish here because it's too late and we are tired. I think that we really need to finish this deflationary policies and create contention, and also we need to fight against inequality that should be central to economic policy and policies in general, and not only in gender inequalities. Gender inequality is one part of the inequalities. We cannot fight very much on gender inequalities, because if we don't fight and combat other inequalities, we will not be fighting gender inequality. So if we want to combat gender inequality, it has been within other economic inequality. And especially we need a new order and international regulation of financial markets and financial transfer, the closure of tax havens, the introduction of lower taxes to finance global public goods, the cancellation of the debt of developing countries' fair trade, and the implementation of limits to free trade and capital flows. This could sound very sort of different for gender inequality, but unless we deal with that, we cannot really advance on real gender equality. We need definitely a different type of economic activity. We need other incentives, another soul, another values, and especially another power. Now power is more concentrated than probably in many time in history. It's really very much concentrated, and it's getting more and more concentrated. During this crisis, inequality has grown up very much, and money has been more and more. It's more, each year is more and more concentrated. Very rich people have done a lot of money with this situation, and other people are really getting poorer and left behind and excluded from the system. So we need to shift power, and we really need to, how we will do it, and well, we were saying also regarding TEEP. Now we have this threaten, which is this trade agreement that we have to sign with the United States, that is going really escaping all democratic debate and escaping all the sort of public debate, and we have really to confront it, and we have really to stop it. Otherwise, in a couple of years, it will happen as it has happened, for instance, in Southern Europe or in Spain, when we wanted to implement some policies. During the economic crisis, we were not able to do it because we were within the Eurozone, and we are in the Maastricht Treaty, and within the Maastricht Treaty we have not autonomy in order to develop many things. So it doesn't matter who we are going to choose democratically to rule our country, because there are many things that they could not do it, and because of the Maastricht Treaty. And if this treaty goes on, it will be even worse. So we have to get informed and to go out and to say no, probably in the streets or anywhere. But really the order is changing. The institutional order, sort of the box, the building where everything will be possible or not, is changing. We will not be possible to change things democratically. Look what happened to Greece. They choose a government democratically